Okay, so we're going to try and do a Java demo here with Cultura. I'm doing a screen recording. I'm going to try to build a three-card Monty game. Kind of taking a big chance here because I didn't work this all out ahead of time. I'm going to build it as I go. You can kind of see the approach that I use here, so we'll see if that works or not. So first I have NetBeans here. And I've created three-card Monty. So far I don't have any files in there. And then I wanted to start by showing you the layout for the game, which I've done up in Word here. Just it's an easy way. Normally I do this as a sketch on a piece of paper. So you can see that we're going to have a title bar here. The three buttons, which will have images on them that represent the three cards. A display area with labels for the player and dealer wins, and then an area for the actual number of wins. And normally I wouldn't have this both of these things, but because you need to learn how to do a scrolling text area later for your fortune teller program, and some of the other ones will do, I'm going to put that in too. And then finally I have a quit button. So before we go away from this, let's just kind of think about how to do the layout. I like to use the border layout for the application. So I have my top, center, north, center, and south borders. But notice I've got an awful lot of things here in the south region. So I'm probably going to have to use a grid layout there where I'll have two rows and essentially one column. And then within those columns I'll have flow layout. So this will be one of the rows. I just said that backwards, didn't I? Okay, so two rows, and each row will have one column. So this first column in this row will have these things, and then the second row will have these things. Okay, we'll see how that works as we go. So we might come back and look at this again. Again, you don't have to go to this trouble to use Word. I'd usually do this on paper with pencil. Just to keep my head together about what I have here. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and go back to NetBeans. And we'll start by adding our Java main class. And that's not there, so I go to Other. And I cruise down here to Java main class, which is right there. Hit Next. And this is going to be three-card Monty driver using our naming conventions, and I'll finish that. And I could go ahead and create the other file, but actually I kind of like NetBeans to do that for me, so I'm going to do that instead here. I prefer to line these things up, so I'm going to be doing that as I go. And I think I might stop for a moment here and change the font size here real quickly. Let's see if I can remember how to do that quickly, so sorry about that. Let's see, where the hell is that? Tools maybe? Options. Whoops. There we go. Tools, options, fonts and colors. And let's jam that up like I usually do in class. Let's see, how's the 18 look there? Is that going to be okay? Yeah, I think that might work better. And of course, it didn't seem like it changed much there. I guess it is bigger. Okay, so again, we're going to just go ahead and create an instance of our frame like we've been doing. So this will be jframe frame equals new. Okay, now here's where I'm going to give it the name of the new class, and obviously that's going to be three-card Monty. Oops, not Monty. Monty, and then by convention we'll end with frame. Okay, so three-card Monty frame, and then I'll add the import for the JFrame here. Got that. And then I'll come back and it'll say create class three-card Monty frame in package, and that's what I want. So I'll click on that, and then I have my new three-card Monty frame over here. Notice it already knows that it extends J-frame. Again, I'm just going to straighten up my things because I prefer that style. Somewhere in NetBeans I can actually make it do that, but I'm lazy and I haven't figured that out. Okay, so we got it set up here. Let's go on back to our driver. We'll just finish that off real quickly. By the way, this will give you for a brief moment, it'll give you a spurious error message until it kind of catches up with what you're doing. Let's go ahead and indent this too. That bugs me. Okay, so usually here we just have the frame dot visible and true. I think that's right. Let's see here. You know what? I think that's set visible. Let me try that again. See if I can get the... Sure enough, it was set visible. So we'll put that back and fix that. Okay, so that's going to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now everything else is going to be over here in this file here. Okay, so first thing we have to do is figure out all the stuff that we need for the GUI. And as you can imagine, we're going to have a bunch of J panels here. So let's start with those. So I have J panel. I'm going to go ahead and put the import in now. And then I've got the main, main panel. And then I have the, I'm just going to call it the title panel. That'll be what goes in the north. The main panel will hold all the other panels, so that'll have the border layout. So we have the main panel, we have the title panel, then we have our image panel, which has the 3 clickable buttons for the Monty game. And then we have a stats panel, which displays the wins for the player and the computer, the dealer we're going to call that. And then we have the panel with the scroll pane and the quit button. And I guess I'll just call that control panel, although that's not a great semantic name there. Okay? Alright, so we've created our panels. Let's see. Let me just pop back and look at the GUI again here. So I've got 3 buttons. You might have been wondering about that. I'm going to use the images. They'll actually be buttons. I'm just going to add images to them when I make them. That's something you can do with a button. And so then I have a total of 4 buttons here, the 3 images and the quit button. I think I'm going to challenge myself here and try to create an array of buttons for the image buttons here. It might be that we can make the code work a little better that way. So let's start with J button. And again, I want to add the import. Let NetBeans do that for me. Oops, having a little trouble here with my mouse. There we go. And then this will be the quit button. And then let's see if I can remember how to write a code for an array here. So J button, image button, equals new. Oh, how does that go? Okay, I got rid of that brain fart, so I had to check the syntax for creating an array. I should know better, but I don't. So we want to create an array of 3 buttons here. And this will be the image button. And notice that that's already instantiated. I probably don't have to do that here, but I just went ahead and did. I don't think that'll bite me in the ass. It might very well be, though. So, alright, let's see. We've got our panel. We've got our 4 buttons. I think we have a couple of labels there. Yeah, so we have the player win and the dealer wins labels. We have our text area and our scroll pane. Alright, so let's get the rest of that stuff listed here. So first J label, we have, and again I'm going to add the import. I like to do that right away. And so let's see, player, player wins label, and dealer wins label. And as you know, I like to use names that kind of work together, so we'll create the text fields using the same way. So J text field player wins TF, and dealer wins TF. And let's get that import in there for the text field. Whoops, there we go. Let's see. Okay, looks like we're good. It's always good to save periodically. Control S to save. Alright, what do I need? My Scrollpane. J Scrollpane. Scroller. I'll just call that scroller. There's only one in here. Again, we add the import. And then finally, our last component is the text area. J text area. We'll just say results. Sometimes I'll use suffixes on these, but when I only have one, I don't bother. So we only have one text area, so we're not going to say results TA, just like I didn't bother to say scroller SP, Scrollpane. Now it turns out that basically we had the Scrollpane in so we can make the text area scroll. And what's kind of weird about that is you add the text area to the Scrollpane, and then you add the Scrollpane to the label. Pardon me, to the panel. Okay, so let's take a quick look again at our layout. Because this is fairly complicated, I think I'm going to break it down into a series of methods just to subdivide this so I don't have a big block of code to read here. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll create a method that creates for each one of these panels in our layout. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come down here in main. This is actually the constructor for my 3-card Monty frame class. So the first one will be create title panel, and of course NetBeans will tell me, hey, that doesn't exist. I'll go ahead and click on that and click create. And one thing I'll warn you about here is when it creates these, it creates them so they won't run. So you can see here that this will actually throw an error. I usually don't want that code in there, so I'll delete it. And the reason I don't want it in there is I want to be able to run the application as I go. So we got the title panel here, and we also want to create the what do we call our center panel there? Image panel. So create image panel. And then let's do also here again, I'm going to let NetBeans create stub out the method for me. I'll fix that here in a second. I'll just do them both at once. Let me slide up here so you can see good. Oops. There we go. Alright, and let's see, what do we have here? So we have our title panel, image panel, stats panel, and control panel. I don't normally do this, but basically I've got the stats and the control panel in one panel here using the border layout. That'll be in the south panel. So I think I'll just go ahead and say create south panel. But that's not the best idea. You know, we've talked about naming things correctly, and that you always want to use descriptive semantic names rather than something like the position on the page. That doesn't really tell you what's in the panel when you do it that way. But that'll be alright here for this one. Okay, let's get rid of the error code here because I want to be able to run this as I go. And so I'll just take that out of each one. Again, I like to line these up vertically instead of with this style. A lot of people do use this style, though. You don't have to do that. It's just my personal preference. I like to line things up so I can see that. Okay, so what's going to happen is the 3-card Monty frame constructor here will call our 3 methods, and we'll gradually create the GUI with the methods. So we also need to create the main panel. We could set up another method here for that, but that's pretty straightforward. So let's just do that here. So main panel equals new J panel. Okay. And then if we come on down here, now we got to be careful here because if I add code in here to add the panels, they haven't actually been created yet. So I think what I'll do is I'll add the panels to main using the individual methods that are creating them. Now we also need to do border layout, and I forgot to declare that, so now I'll have to come up here and do border layout. And let's see. Actually, we don't need to. We need to include this as an import, but we don't have to declare that, right? Okay. So I forgot about that. Sorry. Like I told you, I'm kind of writing this as I go. I thought you might want to see how my process works here. So set layout, and then this is going to be new border layout, and again this works because I don't need to have the name of the border layout there, and so that's kind of an anonymous object. So this construction where you add something and it doesn't have a name, where you just use the new, works that way. Now I do have to add the import for the border layout, and so there it is. So it looks like we're good. And of course I just realized now that I forgot my action listeners that I'm going to need on the buttons. I guess we don't need to put those in yet. We can put those in when they come up. If you wanted though, you could go ahead and put those in too. Okay, so what we've done so far is we've created our panel. We've set the border layout to it. We also need to set our size, and we use our symbolic constants for that. So let's do that, and we're going to have, let's see here, final int width, and whoops, again this is all caps because it's a constant, and let's, I'm going to set this to about 600, don't know if that's big enough or not yet, and then final int height. Whoops, I'm having some trouble typing today. Not enough booze, I guess. Maybe I'll stop and make a hot toddy here. Ah, there we go. And why doesn't NetBeans like that? I always wonder about stuff here. Hidden field hides another field. What the hell? Alright, I might need to move that later. I'll leave that for now. I don't really follow what that means. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen here. We want to set the size on the frame. Okay, so recall when we create a frame with inheritance, this particular file which defines the frame is the frame itself. So you could say this dot set width, or set dimensions, whatever it is, but basically you don't need to use the this, so we can just say set, let's see, I've forgotten how that. Oh, let's see. Oh, yeah, and I have to use the default close there too. All right, so yeah, it looks like I'm gonna need to stop and get my head together for a second. Okay, so I've recovered from my brain fart, grabbed the big Java book. I forgot to declare these as private, which is best practice. Went ahead and did that, and then these constants should be private static final. So, and then I don't need this dot here because this is a frame. So that is set size, and then this should be width and height. And it looks like we're good there. Okay, so looking good. And then let's see, we have the set visible in the driver. So right now I don't have too much. I think I could probably run this. Let's try this just to see. I might be horribly surprised here. So I'll just reach over here and do run file. And sure enough, I've got a frame coming up. And I closed that and I noticed that my program is still running. So I forgot to set the default close operation. So let me go ahead and close that here, and we'll add that in. Set default close. I was really hoping for the IntelliSense to come up. So once again, I'll walk over here to Big Java and take a quick look. Some of this stuff I just don't remember from memory and have to occasionally look up. Where the hell is that? I think this is it. I'm going from memory. Again, I'll probably have an evil surprise. It looks like I remember pretty good. So set default close operation, exit on close. Alright, just to make sure that I have it right, let's run it one more time. Again, that's one of the nice things about this technique is you can run as you go. So we run the file, and there's our empty frame. Go ahead and close, and now we see that it actually ended. So we're in good shape here. Okay, let's see how much time we got in on this. Not too bad. I'm going to keep going here. So let's go ahead now and build the title panel. And I'll go ahead and put some comments in here so that we kind of have a pseudocode outline. So we need to create the title panel, and we need to create a label for it. I just realized I forgot to put a label in there, so I'll have to declare that. The title, and then I'll have to add the title label to the panel, and then I have to add the title panel to the main panel in the north. Alright, using the border layout. And let's see, we got our main panel, we did set the layout good. Okay, so again, I forgot to declare one of my things, which is my label, and so I'll just add that on here, and this will be my title label, title LBL. And so then let's just go ahead and make that in here. So again, we're going to start with our helper method, and we probably should put some instructions in here about what this does. It's really good to use the mechanism here. So NetBeans will create the special JDoc block here, and I'll just go ahead and describe what it does, which really is what I've already got. What's going on there? There it goes. Which again I've already kind of said. So make the northern panel and add to the frame. That's pretty good. Okay, so create the title panel. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Okay, so title panel equals new J panel, and let's see, I think that's good. Okay, and then create a label for the title. So title label equals new J label, and I can add the text in for the label right now as I go. So this is going to be my 3-card Monty game. Okay, that looks good. And then we have to add the title label to the panel. So that's going to be title panel.add, and then that's going to be title label, and that looks good. And then we have to add the title panel to the main panel in the north. So let's see, that is main panel dot add, and then we want to add the title. Whoops, got a capital in there. Title panel, and then border layout dot. Oops, missed my IntelliSense. Sometimes I type a little too quick. Let's get down and get it. Hit enter. There we go. Semicolon. Let's get rid of this display window here. And so now, theoretically, I should be able to save and run this. Let's try it again and see how we're doing. So run the file. And something, I probably forgot to add something somewhere. Let me pause this for a minute. Okay, so I just tested my GUI, and for some reason the new panel I just created isn't showing up. And I realized that I forgot to add the main panel to my frame. So I've got all this stuff in the main panel and in the sub panel, but it's not in the frame. So I'm going to come back up here to the constructor, add main panel, and that should take care of the problem. We'll run it again. Again, we're running the driver. I think you can just go ahead and use the green arrow. I'll try that next time. And here we go. So now we can see that we've got our panel up there in the north, and things are looking good. Okay, so we finished our first of our 3 helper methods. So now we'll go on down here and start to create the image panel. Now this is kind of a misnomer because the images are really on the buttons. So this is actually going to be a panel that has my 3 buttons. And I'm guessing I'm going to run into a little bit of trouble here because I used an array of buttons and I probably don't remember the syntax exactly, but let's just see what happens here. So if we go back and look up here, let's check our buttons out. So let's see, where are those things here? You should have a button array in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that's created the array. What's kind of weird about this is you have to actually go in and create the individual elements in the array too. And that's something that usually gets me. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Again, let's just go ahead and scope this out here. So create the 3 image buttons in the array, and then we need to create the image panel, and then of course we need to, and I think we want to use a grid layout here too, so we'll have to set the layout to grid. Whoops, sorry. whenever you have a group of buttons, if you use the grid layout, it makes them all the same size, so it tends to work better. Okay, so we'll set the grid layout, and then we have to add the buttons into the grid layout. Buttons to to the panel using the grid layout, of course. Okay, and if you recall, that's just like flow layout. It's the order that you add them in. So obviously I'll just use a for loop to do this, and I might want to be kind of cheap and do it all at one time. That would be bad though for you to understand, so I guess I won't. I'll write two separate loops. Okay, so create the three image buttons. Let's go ahead and set up a for loop. For int btn equals 0 while btn is less than 3. Of course, my buttons are going to be numbered 0, 1, and 2. And then btn plus plus. Let's put in a little block there. I'm not sure that I need a block. I think there's only going to be one line here. And then I've already forgotten what my array is called, so I have to go up here and look. Actually, I can pop over here and look. Let's see. So I'm actually leaning forward now to read this really fine print over here. And where's my array buttons? Quit button. Oh, there it is, image button. Okay, so image btn, and then of course square bracket, and then btn is my counter, equals new j button, and that should work. Now because I'm using this script and it's creating them all at the same time, I'm not going to try to set the text or anything yet, which means I'll have to go back and add the images and that in to those. Okay? In fact, I think I've just decided that I'm going to do a little enhancement here. So I'm going to start out with text buttons, and then after I get the program working, I'll go back and add actual images in here. Okay, so I went ahead and created the buttons, and really I could just go ahead and add the buttons in here too, but I don't want to really do that. That'd be just trying to jam too much code into a short thing here. So we want to make our code really readable. Doesn't hurt to make it a little bit longer. Alright, what do we got here? Create the image panel. Okay, so image PNL equals new j panel, and then we need to set the grid layout for that, because I'm using the buttons and it'll work better that way. So image panel dot set layout new grid layout. Whoops, man, I just cannot type or spell today. I hope you're being entertained by that. Okay, now when you do a grid, you indicate the number of rows in the columns. So this has got one row and then 3 columns. So it'll look like this. And that looks pretty good. And then again, as we add stuff, we want to add it in order. Now notice that the grid layout, whoops, I made a little mistake here. That's a class, so it has to be capitalized. And we have to add the import. So let me just go ahead and add import. There we go, no problems. Okay, now what else? Set the layout to grid. Whoops, I did that. I should have put that after my comment here. So I'm going to move that real quick. Control copy, Control delete, enter, pop it back in there right before. And let's put in a blank space there to make it read better. There we go. Okay, so now we can just add the buttons, and I'm just going to copy my for loop just to save time. Control C, pop on down here, Control V, fix the formatting there a little bit, come on down here, and then this is just going to be, we'll take all of that out and retype it, image panel dot add, whoops, not ass, add, and then let's see, what are these things called again? Image btn, square bracket, and then btn is my counter again. And that looks fine. So again, what's going to happen is there's 3 of these image panel image buttons, and they're going to have an index from 0 to 2. And so this will loop through, and it'll add button 0, then button 1, then button 2. So that's just going to add them all in. Did I save any time with the for loop? Probably not. I could have written 3 lines of code to do the same thing. But again, I might, add more or do more later. So I usually tend to write things this way. Okay, so we've got this panel done. I think now we need to add it to the center. So that's going to be main panel dot add, and then we're going to add the image panel, and of course I have to say where, so that's going to be border layout dot, and then we want center. Let's see, there it is. Alright, and although my buttons aren't going to work yet, and they don't have any text on them, I don't know what this will look like. Let's go ahead and see. We might not be able to see that we have the GUI working because I have no text on the buttons. So again, we'll just try this and see what happens. Oh, I forgot I was going to try to run. Oh, there we go. Excellent. So you can see here that we have the south panel. Here's the center panel, which, if you recall in the border layout, it expands to use all the extra space. So this is good. Okay. All right. Let's close this. And let me check my time. It might be good to split this up. Oh, 37. Okay. I'm going to shoot for about 50 minutes here on this. We'll see if that'll work. All right. And how come it didn't close? That bothers me a little bit. It should have closed. Alright. Let's close off this stuff here. I'm trying to just make more space. By the way, we don't really need this, especially if I can run this with my green arrow up there. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let me think for a second here. I've got my create image panel. I guess we could just try and do the layout first and then come back and add the button action listeners and all that stuff. So I need to refresh my memory here, so I'm going to pop over to my Word document again. And the reason the mouse is moving around is I have trouble seeing it and I tend to lose it. So that's why I'm flailing the mouse around here. My apologies. Okay. Alright, we get quite a bit to do here, don't we? So we're going to have to create 2 subpanels here. One for the first row, one for the second. And then I could use the grid layout, but that would try to make everything the same size, which would look really funky. So I don't want to do that. So I actually want a subpanel here. I've already defined those. But I will have to put a grid layout on the panel that goes here in the south. So let's go ahead and start to build that now. And I'm just going to refresh my memory here what I named everything here. So first we'll look at our panels. So we have the stats panel and the control panel. And I think I meant the stats panel. Actually, those are the 2 subpanels, aren't they? So I need to add another panel here. So the main panel holds everything, and then that's divided into a title panel, an image panel, and like I said, I don't normally do this, but let's go ahead and make this south panel. So south panel, comma there. And so then we'll come on down here. And so first thing we got to do is create the south panel. So south panel, whoops, like I said, I'm not doing too well in the typing today. South panel equals new J panel. And then the south panel is actually going to have grid layout because we're going to have two sub panels in it. Those panels will have flow layout, so that's the default, so we won't have to set those. So let's go ahead and set that layout now. And as it turns out, I have something similar up here, so I'm just going to grab it. I always like to copy myself when I can. It's quicker, and I don't make mistakes that way because it's code. So I just have to change this back to south panel. So south panel, set layout, new grid layout. Now this is going to be 2 rows and 1 column, right? Okay. And then the other 2 panels that are going to go in there, which are the stats panel and the control panels, will have to be added in the right order. Okay, so let's go ahead and do those. Guess I'm not going to bother with the pseudocode in here. I'm just going to go ahead and create these. So stats panel, oops, sorry, stats panel equals new J. I should have copied that line. I'll do that for the next one. Okay. Alright, we'll copy this. And then instead of stats panel, this is called control panel. Alright, okay. Alright, and then let's go ahead and just do all the stuff for the stats panel. So we have the 2 labels and the 2 text fields. So we have, again, I have to check. I probably should go ahead and open this up because if I get the right view, the navigator, I think it's called, come on. Oh well, that ain't going to work. Normally I leave this open and I use this little window down here to check the names of things because it shows all the things you declared. So see, now I have to scoop up here and check this stuff out. Alright, so let's go here. We've got player wins label, dealer wins label, and then player wins text field and dealer wins text field. Okay. Alright. And again, it's always smart to just create stuff in the same order that it goes into the GUI. It's just to work methodically. It makes it easier to read. It works better. Okay? Alright, so first we have player wins label equals new J label. Oops. And here we want to have some text. So this is going to be player wins, like that. I like to add a space there. Maybe it doesn't matter. Okay. And then I'm going to have the player wins text field equals new J text field. And of course, when you set up a text field, you set up the size. I usually use 10. This is only going to be like 2 digits maybe, so I'm going to try 6. We'll see how that works. That's one of those things that you can fudge with later on. Now, if you get a whole lot of these, this is a good place not to use a magic number. So instead, I'd create a symbolic constant at the top, set that to 6, something like default text field width or something like that. And then I can change that in one place. So again, I'm being kind of lazy here. I'm not doing stuff exactly the best way that I should. But it's probably okay. Alright, now while we're here, since I know I have to do pretty much the same thing for the dealer wins, I'll copy these two lines of code, Control C, Control V, overtype this. It's not player anymore, it's dealer. So player wins, now it's dealer win, and then again this will be dealer as well. Oops, not sealer, dealer. And then dealer wins. Whoops, looks like we had a little typo in there. We should fix that as we notice it there, right? Okay. And again, those are going to all be the same. Okay, so now I've got my components, and of course now I'm just going to go ahead and add them to the stats panel. So stats panel dot add, and then the first thing we want to do is the player wins label. Did I get it spelled right? Sure, it looks good. Here, let me scooch this up for you. And then I should just go ahead and copy this line here too. And I'm going to add the player wins text field, so all I have to do is just modify that there, overtype. And let's see, whoops, got an extra character in there. Looking good. Okay, and then I'll just copy both lines and add the dealer stuff. And notice that because we're using the flow layout, this is going to be important to be in the right order. Okay, so dealer wins and dealer wins text field. What do I got in? Oops, sealer. Got some placement issues here with my touch typing. Okay, so I think we're doing pretty good, and now we have to add it in. I got to remember how to do that. So okay, so remember I set the south panel to have grid layout up here and to take 2 rows. So this is really the first row that I'm putting in the south panel. So now I'll say south panel dot add, and again it's in order, so this will be the first thing that I add to the south panel, so it'll be the top row. And then that's going to be stats panel. And then now we'll just go ahead and create the stuff for the other part of the south panel, and so that's going to be the control panel. So control, oops, there we go, control panel equals new J panel. Whoops, sorry about that, having some typing issues here. What's going on there? Whoops, oh I see, I got a typo. There we go. Alright, and then so now what are we going to add here? So I have to define this stuff. I forgot to set it up here. I'm going to hit Control S to save my work, although I think NetBeans is pretty good about that. So let's pop up here. So I don't believe, no, I do have it. So I have my text area, that's called results, and my Scrollpane is called scroller. So the way this works is you create the text area, you add it to the scroller, which you have to create too, and then you add the scroller to the panel. Okay, and then we also have to add our quit button. All right. So again, I'm in the Create South panel. I broke all this stuff up so I could do it a step at a time and not get all confused. And, oh, what's going on here? Looks like, in fact, I created this twice, didn't I? So let's see, Stats panel. Okay, let me delete that. Alright. Now I just forgot what I was doing, of course. Alright, so we have to go ahead and create the text area and the scroll pane. So, scroller equals new J scroll pane, and I think that's the number of lines it'll have. I might be wrong about that. Let's try that and see if that works. I'm going from memory here, and yeah, it seems like it likes that. So whoops, I guess it doesn't here. Oh, you know what? I gotta. Alright, I remember now. It's how many characters it has. So let's make this like 50 characters. And I think then how many lines too. So yeah, there we go. Man, it's horrible when you get old like I am, isn't it? Alright, looking at my time, I'm just under 50 minutes. Let's try and finish this, and then I'll come back and do all the action listener stuff in the next video. Okay, so we got our scroller. Let's make our text area, which is called results. Really, I should have used my extensions here, so this should be scroller SP for Scrollpane and results TA for text area. But because I only had one, I got lazy. That'll actually screw me up. Excuse me, sorry about that. And you know what? I just realized that I got completely confused. This is actually the stuff that goes in here. So the text area, you say how many characters across and how many lines. And the scroll pane, you don't. Okay? Now, we're going to add the text area to the scroll pane. So scroller dot add. Let's see, is that how it works? I'm gonna probably have to let's try it and see. Yeah, I think I got it. Okay, cool. So then I can add the scroller now to the control pane, and I still need to create my quit button too. Yeah, let's just do that real quickly here because I want to show you that I have to add them in order. So quit btn equals new J button. Oh yeah, and this will be the title, so of course this will be quit. Looking good. Of course, there's no action listener or anything yet. We're going to do that, and I'm sure I'll do that now in the next video. Okay, so I got these components, and I can add them to my control pane. So I'm just going to go ahead and type that out. Control panel dot add scroller. And again, this is using the default layout, which is flow layout, and then control panel dot add, and then what's the quit button, right? So quit btn. All right, does that look good? All right, did we add our control panel to our south panel? No, so that's the last thing to do. Remember, we're using the grid layout on the south panel. So south panel, whoops, wow, south panel dot add, and then this is going to be the control panel. Okay, looking good. Let's go ahead and Control S to save, and let's see how well I did here. Okay, that's fine. That's what I want to do. Let's run that. Uh-oh. So it looks like we didn't get the south panel. Maybe I forgot to add the south panel in here. So let me go ahead and close this. Oh good, and it did quit this time. I don't know what happened before. So I have to add the south panel to the frame. That's what I forgot last time too, isn't it? So add and south panel dot, whoops, border layout dot south. So, what do we got? What do I did wrong here? South panel. Oops. Okay. So that should be a comma. Looking good. All right. One more time. Let's see. Excellent. So now our GUI is running. And let's see. Oh, you know what? The Scrollpane is not showing up over here. Let's see. So what's going on with that? Okay, so again, a border layout. This is north. The three images, which are actually buttons, and we haven't made them yet, are in the center. And then these two panels are in the south. And it looks like I have a problem here with this. My quit button won't work yet, so let me close that and just scan through my code. I'm going to pause this for a second. Okay, so it turns out that I got screwed up and I forgot how to do this. So what happens is you create the text area and you actually add it into the constructor for the Scrollpane. So to do that, I have to move this line because I'm actually creating it after. So I'm going to move it up here. And then now we just do this, and results goes there. Okay, and then we don't need this line, which was, you can actually add stuff to the Scrollpane, but that's not what we wanted to do. So that didn't work, and that's why I had a problem there. So I think we're probably going to be good to go here in a second. Let me tighten this up a little bit. So scroller, I got to make sure that I added the scroller in and not the text area. There we go. So there we go. I think we're good now. Let's give it a shot and see if it works. Oh, what the hell happened? Yep. Oh shit, I forgot to record.